Leslie, great to see you again. The world has changed so much in the last 15 years or so. It's unrecognizable from the late 90s, the early 2000s to what's available, the amount of information that's available to people, how they see an apartment, where they look for an apartment. Everything seems to have changed.
It is. Technology is amazing, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
Technology has actually advanced us, and I think it actually helps between buyers and sellers. They have more information, and it starts a better dialogue. I personally I would always want a broker.
Well, I think in New York, is it possible to sell your apartment or buy an apartment without a broker?
I think it's really, really, really difficult. I think there's so many skills that go into selling an apartment. First of all, getting your house ready for sale, you need someone objective to come in and really look at your apartment and help you.
Such a personal experience, right?
It is such a personal experience, and something that's really important to you.
Yeah.
Let's say you love your blue painted wardrobe, but that isn't the color of the day.
Yeah.
You need someone objective to come in and say, okay, this is what we need to get your home ready for sale. So there's the aesthetic side. And when you live in your own home, you don't notice things that are wearing that you might just want to get touched up and ready for sale.
It's funny because it becomes invisible.
Right. But, well, your priorities change, right? You're no longer looking at the scratch in the floor. Something else is more important.
The scratch in the floor that used to be the most important thing in your life suddenly doesn't.
No, there are other priorities. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's one thing, you just wouldn't probably be marketing your home really well to the universe, but you also need to have the resources and the infrastructure that a company like Brown Harris Stevens has to get it up on the website, to be able to co-broke to every other brokerage firm.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important, because the more you to maximize your exposure and get as many eyeballs to see it, then you'll have more people visiting and you'll get a higher price.
Yeah.
So to just do it on your own, you're just not going to get that type of exposure. So we come in, we photograph, we do floor plans, we get your home ready, we write marketing materials, you're up on the website, you're going out to all the brokerage firms, open houses, social media now is huge.
It's such a massive project, selling an apartment.
It is.
It seems so easy. I mean, I take some pictures, I get rid of the picture of Granny and stick it on Zillow, and people are going to start calling, for sure, right?
Not necessarily.
No.
I mean, I've seen even some photographs that people take of
with their phone.
With their, it's just it's not the way you want it to be highlighted to the best of its capabilities.
I've been in here 22 years. I've been in the construction industry for 20 years. I've bought and sold many apartments over this time, and the first one I was determined that I would get a much better deal if I was doing it all myself. And it's such a misnomer.
No.
It's such a misnomer.
It is and you do much, much, much better with a broker. Forget about the commission, you will do much, much better.
Well, that's it, right? It's about the commission. For a lot of people, I'm going to pay 6% to some person to come in, take half a dozen pictures, stick it on the website. They're going to show up 3 Saturdays in a row, it's going to sell, and I'm going to give them for $1 million apartment, I'm going to give them 60 grand.
And it's not that simple.
In some fantasy world, right? Yeah.
I mean, we could break down the commission, but there are other
I think that's a really interesting thing.
We'll break down.
Help people understand. Help me understand. $60,000 per million seems like an awful lot of money for 3 Saturdays and 10 pictures.
You have to remember, first of all, the 6% commission. You're usually co-broking. You have another broker on the other side. They bring the buyer. You're representing the seller.
Yep.
Each of those parties splits that 6%, so 3%, 3%. And depending on the price of the apartment, we may even do the deal at 5%, 2.5% and 2.5% to the co-broke.
Yeah.
If I do a deal where I bring in the buyer myself and I'm representing the seller, full disclosure to the seller, absolutely, this is really, really important that everything be disclosed, so everybody knows complete transparency. Then it could be 4%.
Really? Okay.
But then you have to remember the brokerage firm, they're also investing in this with all the marketing
take half of it,
materials,
right?
and they take a percentage of it. And your
It's normally 50-50,
it really
or it
depends
depends on your status as a broker and how much business you bring in.
How much business you bring in, you actually are going to earn more if you earn more for the company.
Yeah, so if it's your first deal and it's your first
year,
year...
It's probably going to be 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah. And then as you increase your revenue for the firm, your split with the house will go up. But there's so much more that goes into just putting it on the website.
Yeah.
Every time I start and I sell an apartment, I talk to the managing agent and I give them a questionnaire. And the questionnaire are things from, are there any capital improvements that I need to know? Can I have a copy of the finance?
You need things coming down the pike.
Absolutely.
In 6 months, we're going to need a new roof.
Right. So
4 months, we're going to need a new boiler.
New elevators, right? New things like that. So the capital improvements, is that going to impact someone's maintenance? Is there a flip tax? So when someone closes, is the flip tax paid by a buyer and seller? And what is that flip tax? Is it 1%, 2%?
So sometimes it's the buyer that pays it, and sometimes it's the seller?
Sometimes it's the sellers, and sometimes it's negotiable.
Split, right?
You got it.
There's no rules.
So, right, exactly.
There's lots of rules, but none of them apply, except.
And sometimes it's stipulated in the board package who pays that flip tax. So I always ask for a copy of the board package because I want to understand what the closing fees are, the flip tax. I want to see what the board package looks like. So I go through the whole questionnaire before I even start writing the copy, so I know that property inside and out. Before it goes to market.
It's so nuanced, and some of the crazy stuff people end up signing up for and not realizing what the long-term impact's going to be. You know, some of the maintenance numbers that you get on these older Upper East Side buildings make the apartment unsellable, literally.
Well, and but that's part of my job as someone who's representing a buyer is looking at the maintenance history. And that is something, even when I'm selling, I ask for the maintenance history because it's going to be important to a buyer. What are the percentage increases? And if maintenance is something that's really important to someone, sometimes you look at properties that have retail downstairs, right? That's going to offset the maintenance. Revenue from retail. So there are all different ways of looking from both a seller perspective and a buyer's perspective.
So Brown Harris Stevens, it's one of the premier real estate companies in the city. You're one of their top brokers. What is it about working with a real premium brokerage company versus the sort of, chop shop is a little harsh, but there's quite a lot of it about where people really don't get the value for money. What makes Brown Harris Stevens so great?
So, first of all, I drank the Kool-Aid. I love Brown Harris Stevens. I think we're a wonderful brand.
You've been with them for
18 years.
So
I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. Career, no, it's been amazing. And their branding is incredible, and everybody understands they're very intelligent brokers. We're small, we're privately held. So we do, even though we're small, we do one of the greatest percentages of business in the city.
It's amazing.
And
it's amazing. I mean, some of the prestigious properties that you guys sell, it really speaks to the confidence and the trust that kind of buyer and ultimately that kind of seller, because it's
a really white glove, and we have worldwide exposure, which is also a wonderful thing. So, but they only hire those with experience. So you're going to get an experienced broker. And there are a lot of our deals that happen with another Brown Harris Stevens broker because of the clientele. It just happens.
You get both sides of the deal in-house, which is also great because you know who you're communicating with, you know what their standards are, you know what their expectations are. You both have the interest in keeping the client's interest, as a front and center. It's certainly.
But I love, I kind of feel like we're all colleagues. So if it's a Corcoran broker, or a Scribbling broker, or a Compass broker, we're all colleagues working together. So I'm happy to co-broke with, anyone.
So you joined Brown Harris Stevens 18 years ago. You came in as kind of green, and this was the big. So
I was really, really, really fortunate. They took me on without prior real estate experience, but I have an MBA.
Okay.
I grew up in Manhattan. I had 20 years of marketing, so I knew I could market someone's home. I have an MBA, so I could do that board package and those numbers, and I'm not scared of finance at all.
Yeah.
And I kind of came in a handshake with a partner, and I kind of said, I'll do open houses on Sunday if I can pick up my kids twice a week at 3 p.m.
Because he didn't want to do Sunday, or she didn't want to do Sunday.
No, he was done. He was done with his Sundays.
I don't want to deal with Sundays anymore.
He's done with Sundays, and within that first 6 months, like I was taking someone out for a studio who ended up buying a 3-bedroom, and we never looked back.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we did say we would evaluate in 3 months and see how it was going, and
18
here we are,
years,
18 years.
You've never evaluated, right?
So so it was really, really fortunate. It was kind of, I think, knowing Manhattan like the back of my hand and really having that MBA and the marketing experience just all really triangulated really well.
So what is it that you want to communicate to buyers and sellers in the market that we're in? What are the important pieces that you'd like them to walk away thinking, yeah, I get that. That's something I didn't think about. That makes a lot of sense to me.
And there's so many parts to this puzzle, you know, and for everybody it's something different, and that's kind of what I love is talking with both buyers and sellers and really understanding what their objectives are and then meeting those objectives. So
maybe I can give you a little...
Yeah,
so
please.
You've got your plain vanilla sale, you know, husband and wife, wife and wife want to sell, beautiful apartment, they expect to get about this much, you have a nice couple come and look at it, they do the transaction, everything goes completely smoothly, there's no problems, and then you have just about every other transaction where there's in the middle of a divorce or the building's particularly difficult.
But first let's just even go back to the apartment. Like I think what's really, really important when going to sell an apartment is that you really understand and you have a really realistic expectation with your seller. And that's really understanding the marketplace. So,
and this is about the dollar value.
The dollar value and pricing it correctly. And it's an art and it's a science. And you have to look at the inventory, you have to look at market conditions. And
when you put it on the market?
When you put it on the market, definitely, there's still seasonal, like we still have, it's less seasonal.
Because it's more international, I'm guessing.
More international, and our market's just changed to be, it used to be bonus driven, it seems to be, and that's still an impact, but we are just maybe August, and there are times you don't want to put on your apartment right after Thanksgiving into the, holidays.
Yep.
So I think it's always understanding your objectives, but yes, there are always, I find that no matter what, even in the smoothest of deals, there's always some hiccup.
Yeah.
Like always.
There's
and
always
you
a
never
bump in
know
the
what
road.
it's going to be.
Yeah.
And my clients may not even know what it is because I absorb it.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a creative solution. I've been doing this 18 years and there's always an answer.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's the same in my business. Sometimes it's easy. Balls get dropped.
All the time.
They're never allowed to touch the floor. That's the only stipulation.
That's exactly. And I don't want anyone to stress. It can be a very stressful process.
And emotional too.
Very emotional.
People are selling their family home, their children grew up there. They may not be selling it because it's the joy of selling it. They may be selling it for other reasons.
No, I mean, as I say, and I think you and I have had this conversation, like I get to be part of people's lives at very critical times.
Very intimate way.
They're, just getting married, having a baby, maybe they're going through a divorce,
maybe someone's died.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an estate sale. Sometimes people don't have control over the sale. There's so many factors come into it.
So many factors. But, you bring up the divorce situation, I've come up into, contact with someone who is selling their matrimonial home, but they need to purchase, right? They have kids, they want to move somewhere else. And while they're going through this, their finances as a couple is no longer going to be what they're putting forward in a board package to some, and the timing of that, your divorce isn't always finalized when you need to be purchasing and trying to explain in a board package in a coherent fashion, these are what the financials are going to look like, and having support substantiation for that.
And knowing what to look for.
Knowing what to look for. It's,
and how to present it.
So, but that's the creative part.
Yeah, and that's where having a great broker is the difference between selling and getting the price or being able to buy at the right price, and having your board package, especially in the co-op world, which is a huge piece of New York real estate.
And no matter what I tell my clients, it is a very invasive process, the co-op board package process.
Yeah.
And you want that because you want other shareholders to be as scrutinized as you have, because it's an investment. But it is invasive, and I will tell you, nobody likes going through it, and there's always a moment where people are like, I'm not handing over one more. Like, I just, I'm done.
I don't want to hear about it. I don't like it that much.
Right.
Well, that's option A, but option B is to start the process again.
Right, exactly.
In 3 months' time.
It's not going to change.
With an apartment that you don't like as much.
Yeah. So that's, so there is, again,
yeah.
My job is to try and make it as easy as possible and streamlined. And I'm happy to do someone's financials as well, like work through them with them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people just don't,
Well, they don't know where to start.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like,
It's
well, what of this do you need and what don't you need? And a lot of people, it's like, just give me everything and I'll give it to them. Oh, you didn't have what they needed, you didn't get in.
Never.
So much of it comes down
I
to the
love
broker.
doing a board package, and knock on wood, like with a fine-tooth comb, and I will never put anyone in front of a board that I don't think is board passable.
Yeah.
Because why? Waste everybody's time, and then you're back at it.
Yeah.
So, and I wouldn't do that to a buyer. I would never want them to put themselves in a situation where we don't know that they're board passable when they enter into a contract.
Why put them up for rejection?
Right.
It's so disappointing, and it's so much time and effort and work to get to that point.
No, and there's certain things that you can do in the beginning, right? You can, I think it's really important to sit down with the broker and figure out your objectives, your timing, what's important to you, because we're always, unfortunately, compromising in some way.
And it's not always money.
No, no. It could be ceiling heights, it could be size of room, it could be a different block, it could be timing.
Yeah.
And then the important part is
building reputation.
Absolutely.
The prestige of a particular building over a different, it's in my business it's the same thing. It's very rarely, I would say 30% of my conversations come down to money. The rest of them come down to some things that I never even thought of. We have to get it done before the 7th of September because the kids have got to go back to school.
Absolutely. That's school, the start of the school year.
7 weeks. It's like, I know.
You mean 7 weeks in a year.
Give me my bid back.
You mean September 7th of the next year, not, no.
Is it going to be 61 weeks or is it going to be 7 weeks?
Yeah. And that is a huge thing for me too. Closing, okay, you want to be in, you need to have it renovated.
And getting people to look at their actual priorities, because clients invariably come in thinking it's money and invariably walk out thinking it's something else understanding it's something else.
I also find it's really important listening to a client's objectives. They really may be saying one thing, and the more you listen, like I have a woman who, Sutton Place, that's where she wanted, her friends are there, it's by the water, it's quiet. And I listened and I listened and I listened, and I'm like, she's going to be miserable there. She's a single woman, very active, into the arts, and I'm like, you will not be happy there. No. And there's a new building going up, 53 West 53rd, which it is on top of the MoMA. She is an art collector, avid art collector. The people that are going to live there will be avid art collecers.
The community outside your door.
To walk outside.
Yeah.
Right. And so
why would you just be in a world of strollers and nannies?
Right.
When you could be in a world of art and restaurants and dynamics of New York.
And down to they have a fitness center which actually has a connection to Mount Sinai. I mean, it's just so
if you overdo it, they'll just cart you straight off.
Absolutely, they got it. They got you covered. And so we went. She's like, yeah. And it's that listening, because people will tell you one thing, and you just have to really, really, really listen. And sometimes it's even finding a home that feels like their current home, but they need it bigger. and understanding what their current home is, walking their current home, getting to know
and
them.
what it is about that
Like,
that
what is
makes
the
them
essence?
feel, because it doesn't have to necessarily look that way. It can be very much how people feel when they're in their home. Do they feel like they're part of a community? Do they want to feel exclusive? Do they want to feel like a master of the universe? Do they want to feel like a parent? Do they want to feel, you know, you've got so much goes into how an apartment feels
And it could be the floor plan.
Yeah.
They walk it and they feel comfortable. Like, that's a lot of it. And it's
Yeah.
like they feel comfortable because it's familiar, because it's a bigger one of what they have.
Yeah.
You know, that's just, it's really a fascinating process. And what I was going to say, though, like, important at the beginning of the process, important for me to like understand criteria and what their objectives are. But starting the process, you want to be, you know, if you're going to take out a mortgage, you want to have a pre-approval so that should you find the right thing, you're pre-approved and you don't have to go through that. And even the pre-approval for getting a mortgage is very similar to some of the things you're going
Yeah.
to need to provide for a co-op board package. And if you don't want to expose so much for a co-op, you can also look at a condo, which doesn't ask for as much information.
Yeah, and it has more
And
flexible
much
rental.
more flexible. You can,
Yeah.
absolutely, you can rent it out, you own it in its entirety as opposed to shares in a co-op.
Yeah.
So some condos are becoming more like co-ops, but you can work through that as well. So,
And I think also when you're with the right broker, a broker's ability to look at a space objectively and say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this is a $1.5 million renovation, a $3 million renovation, and it's going to take 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, plus our closing time. This is probably a 2.5-year time horizon before you get what you think you're going to get.
Yeah.
And being able to have a realistic conversation with a potential buyer.
yeah, it's, you know, because we do what we do and we see so much, we have.
And you work in this kind of building so much.
Yeah, but you have vision, right? And it doesn't even matter. It can be small or large.
Yeah.
You know what can be done.
Yeah.
And a lot of clients that I start out with really don't have that vision, and it's scary. Sometimes your best deal is going to be that deal where you do need to spend a time renovating, but not having vision and really.
Or understanding that you can take that wall out.
Right. Well, that's what I mean by vision. So,
Yeah.
sorry, you know, absolutely. Like, so
It's like,
that
we can take that wall out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can expand that kitchen to be a
But what
huge
about the
eating
sprinkler?
kitchen with
We'll just
it.
move
Like,
it.
move
You
it.
can move a sprinkler?
Right.
Yeah.
And that maid's room can open up into the kitchen. You have a huge eating kitchen, and
Yeah.
you could actually, you want it loft-like, you could take the dining room wall down next to the living room and have a huge expanse.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't see it, and so over time, I ask someone like yourself to come in,
Yep.
have an architect come in, have an interior,
And we'll
walk
come
the
in
space.
and do that.
Right.
You know,
Which
architects
is
and
so helpful.
Yeah, we'll come in and do that because
Right.
we hope that you'll choose us to do the job. And if
Abs-
not, we support
I
you
rely
either way.
on you to do
Yeah.
that. No, I mean,
And clients
that-
don't realize that if with the right broker, you have such a spectrum of options open up to you with
the resources
Yeah.
to make your dream happen are at your fingertips, and that's part of my job, is bringing all those resources to you so that you can have the end result.
And that's why you're
you
so
know,
good at what you do, Leslie.
I love what I do, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
I really appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to sit down and really share some of your, extraordinary knowledge about the real estate industry.
Well, thank you. It's always my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.